OSHA Standard 1910.132A. Protective equipment, including personal protective equipment for eyes, face, head, and extremities, protective clothing, respiratory devices, shall be provided, used, and maintained in a sanitary condition. Section C. All personal protective equipment shall be of safe design and construction for the work to be performed. Section D. Hazard assessment and equipment selection. The employer shall assess the workplace to determine if hazards are present. Select the types of PPE that will protect the affected employee and fit properly. The employer shall verify that the required workplace assessment has been performed, which identifies the hazards. The employer shall provide training to each employee who is required to use PPE such that they know when the PPE is necessary, what PPE is necessary, how to properly wear PPE, and the proper care, maintenance, and disposal of PPE. OSHA Standard 1910.133. The employer shall ensure that each affected employee who wears prescription lens while engaged in operations that involve eye hazards wear eye protection that incorporates the prescription into the design or wears eye protection over the prescription lens. Eye and face PPE should be distinctly marked to facilitate identification of the manufacturer. The employer shall ensure each affected employee use equipment with filtered lenses when doing work performed with injurious light radiation. Protective eye and face protection devices must comply with any of the following consensus standards. Protective eye and face protection devices that the employer demonstrates are at least as effective as protective eye and face devices that are constructed in accordance with one of the above consensus standards will be deemed to be in compliance with the requirements of this section. OSHA Standard 1910.134A. Permissible practice. The primary objective is to prevent atmospheric contamination by accepting engineering controls and measures. The respirator shall be provided to each employee when such equipment is necessary to protect the health of such employee. The employee shall provide the respirators which are applicable and suitable for the purpose intended. The employer shall provide respirators, training, and medical evaluations at no cost to the employee. The employer shall select and provide an appropriate respirator based on the hazard to which the worker will be exposed to. The employer shall select a NIOSH certified respirator that shall be used in compliance with the conditions of its certification. The employer shall provide the following respirators for employees' use in IDLH atmospheres: a full face piece pressure demand SCBA certified by NIOSH. The combination full face piece pressure demand supply to air regulator with auxiliary self-contained air supply. The employer must select a respirator for employee use that maintain the employee's exposure to hazardous substance. The employer shall provide a medical evaluation to determine the employee's ability to use a respirator before the employee is fit tested or required to use a respirator in the workplace. Fit testing. Before an employee may be required to use any respirator, must be fit tested with the same make, model, style, and size of the respirator that is to be used. The employee shall pass an appropriate fit test. The employer shall provide each respirator user with a respiratory that is clean, sanitary, and in good working order, that they are kept accessible to the work area, stored in compartments that are clearly marked containers, and stored in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions. Repairs or adjustments to respirators will be made only by persons appropriately trained to perform such operations. Employers shall ensure that each employee demonstrate the knowledge of at least the following: why the respirator is necessary and how it properly fits, what the limitations are, and how to inspect, put on, and remove and inspect the seals. OSHA Standard 1910.135. The employer shall ensure that affected employee wears a protective helmet when working in areas where there is a potential for injury to the head from falling objects. Head protection must comply with the following standards: ANSIZ 891-2003 and ANSIZ 891-197. Head protective devices that the employer demonstrates are at least as effective as head protection devices that are constructed in accordance with one of the above consensus standards will be deemed to be in compliance with the requirements of this section. OSHA Standard 1910.136. The employer shall ensure that each affected employee use proper footwear when working in areas where there is a danger of foot injuries due to falling or rolling objects or objects piercing the sole, and where such employees' feet are exposed to electrical hazards. Protective footwear must comply with the following standards: ANSIF 2412-2005, ANSIZ 41-1999, and ANSIZ 41-1991. OSHA Standard 1910.137. Insulated blankets, matting covers, line hose, gloves, and sleeves made of rubber shall meet the following requirements. Blankets, gloves, and sleeves shall be produced by a seamless process. Each item shall be clearly marked, and markings shall be non-conductive and shall be applied in such a manner as not to impair the insulating qualities of the equipment. OSHA Standard 1910.138. A. Employers shall select and require employees to use appropriate hand protection when employees' hands are exposed to hazards such as those from skin absorption of harmful substances, severe cuts or lacerations, severe abrasions, punctures, chemical burns, thermal burns, and harmful temperature extremes. Employers shall base the selection of the appropriate hand protection on an evaluation of the performance characteristics of the hand protection relative to the task or tasks to be performed, conditions present, duration of use, and the hazard and potential hazards identified.